Hi, I'm Elizabeth from Logic Walk. In this lesson, we're going to explore how the computer reads data from the hard drive. This process is a bit more involved, so we'll take it slow. Reading data from the hard drive generally involves two steps. First, the computer requests a block of data to be copied from the disk into its memory. Then the hard drive copies that data into the computer's memory and then interrupts the computer when it's done. While the disk is copying, the computer can either wait idle or perform other tasks. With that in mind, let's break our program into sections before running it. For this program, instructions 1 through 3 are triggered by interrupts. Notice that each maps to a row in the interrupt table. Instructions 4 through 7 makes the disk read request to disk A. Instruction 8 tells the computer to wait for the hard drive to finish copying data from disk to memory. And instructions 9 through 20 is the routine that the computer will follow to print the read data on the display. Finally, notice that disk A contains ASCII values starting at disk cell 2. Now that we've outlined the sections, let's run the program and see what appears on the screen. When we run the program, disk A's data is copied into memory and then printed. You'll see the word logic appear on the display. Next, let's go through each instruction in the order that it happens in this program, with more detail to understand how this happens. Instruction 0 tells the computer to skip over instructions 1 through 3, which should only run when an interrupt occurs. Instruction 4 stores the data size into memory cell 46. For this program, the data size is 5, which means that the computer wants to read 5 values from the disk. Instruction 5 stores the disk start index into memory cell 47. In this program, the computer will start reading data from disk cell 2. Then instruction 6 stores 0 into memory cell 48 to set the disk to read mode. And finally, instruction 7 stores 1 into memory cell 49 to signal disk A. At this point, disk A begins copying values into the computer's memory. The value in disk cell 2 gets copied into memory cell 30. The value in disk cell 3 is copied to memory cell 31, and so on until all 5 values are copied. Meanwhile, instruction 8 loops back to itself, keeping the computer idle until disk A finishes and interrupts. When copying completes, disk A sets interrupt cell 1 to 1, causing the computer to execute instruction 2. Instruction 2 jumps past instruction 4 through 8 and continues at instruction 9. Now the computer has the data and will prepare to print it. In instructions 9 through 20, the computer copies the characters in the disk buffer to the display buffer and signals the display to start printing. Instruction 9 initializes memory cell 51 to 30, the start of the disk buffer. Instruction 10 initializes memory cell 52 to 10, the start of the display buffer. And instruction 11 initializes memory cell 53 to 0, setting up a counter to track how many characters have been copied from the disk buffer into the display buffer. In instructions 12 to 18, the computer copies the characters from the disk buffer to the display buffer, one character at a time. Instruction 12 compares cell 53, the characters copied, to cell 46, which is the data size. If equal, the computer will jump to instruction 19 to start printing. If not, the computer will proceed to instruction 13. Instruction 13 copies the value from the address in cell 51 into cell 50, which loads a value from the disk buffer. Instruction 14 copies the value in cell 50 to the address in cell 52, which stores the data in the display buffer. Instructions 15 through 17 increment cells 51 through 53 by 1, moving to the next character in the disk buffer. Instruction 18 jumps back to instruction 12 for the next loop iteration. Now that all of the characters are stored in the display buffer, it's time to trigger the display. Instruction 19 copies cell 53 into cell 26, which holds the number of characters to print. And instruction 20 signals the display to print those characters, just as we saw when we first ran the program. Now that we've reviewed how the computer reads from the hard drive, in our next lesson, we'll take a closer look at the simulator state changes during each step.